Good afternoon. Welcome to today's panel on how to make your indie game, assuming the people here are actually developers, make your indie game visible in 2017. And, first we'll start off by introducing a wonderful panelists today. We've tried to make, I try to make the panel as diverse as we can, covering a wide range of game platforms for mobile free to play, premiums on PC, premium console, PC VR, and basically, if you're at this show, we've tried our best to get something for you. So, starting from my left, this is Kim Naylor from Landshark Entertainment, based in Singapore. Kim, tell me a little more about the games, a little bite-sized nugget about the games you've made recently.
Yeah, so we're better known for Zenkoi. It's a free-to-play model. It's a mobile game. It's free on Android and iOS. And we have earlier games like Aviator, which was on Facebook. So for Landshark Games, we've been around for about 7 years now. And we're based in Singapore.
Well, thanks a lot, Kim. And next to Kim, on her left, we have Nicholas McDonald. Nicholas is from Samurai Punk, a studio based in Australia, Melbourne specifically. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've made recently?
Sure. So, Samurai Punk is best known for a game we made across 2014 and released finally on consoles in 2016, I think. It's been so long. Which was called Screensheet. That did quite well for us, and now we're moving on to another major title called The American Dream, which is a VR-exclusive game for Oculus, Vive, and PS4. And that's a political satire set in 1950s America.
Something guns for hands, right?
Yeah, guns for hands. Like real American documentary.
As we do. Real America. And thanks, Nick. Next to Nick, we have Monica Gubala from Boomzat Entertainment. If for a lot of us here, her boss, Chris Natsume, is an old friend who is when he runs panels, he is very famous for trying to up the F-bomb quotient. I'm hoping that Monica will live up to that.
Oh no, I can't.
Aw, but
can't live up to your expectations.
We're gonna call Chris later.
The F-bombs. So
Kidding,
Boomzap
but yeah.
is a Singapore registered studio, but we have staff all over Southeast Asia. We have I'm from the Philippines. We have developers in Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, and Russia. So we've been making games for 12 years. So over 12 years, we have made around 51 games. So these include casual, mid-core, and strategy games. We've done free-to-play. We're also doing premium. So recently we're self-publishing a strategy game called Legends of Galatia. And right now, during the Indie Prize, we showed a match 3 game called Rescue Quest Gold.
Great. Thanks, Monica. And finally, we have two guests from Red Candle Games, Coffee and Tiff. They're based in Taiwan. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
那个赤足游戏呢是我们是2015年9月的时候成立的。那 Detention 是我们的 first title。对，那我们其实是由大约4个 indie 的这个小团队组合成的。那我们目前有12个人。那我们现在是在台北。那未来呢，除了因为 Detention 是我们第一个游戏，那我们未来也会开发其他类型的也有可能出在 iOS 上面或者是其他平台。对。
So, Red Candle Game, we founded last year, 2015, and then at first it is just like a game, the team, founded by 4 little, small indie groups in Taiwan, and then we made this, Detention, it's our first game, and it's a 2D PC game. And then now we have like 12 people all together. But even though now we just have our first game is on PC, but in the future we might also switch to like a mobile or different kind of platforms.
All right. Thank you for the introduction. I particularly like, we invited Red Candle to come and join the panel. For me, at the beginning of this year, when they released their game, I was like, what is this game? 3 days on Steam and it's got 800 user reviews. That's amazing. So, each of these developers that we've brought on, we wanted they've all been battle hardened. They've been in the trenches at conventions, tried a few different platforms and run experiments. And each of them has a little bit of insight that we think would be useful to you as an indie dev. So without further ado, let's jump into what I think is sort of the $1 million question. If you had to narrow it down to one crucial marketing tool that every indie developer in this room could stand to benefit from, that would help them really change their the amount of visibility they're getting, what is this tool, or what should they be focusing on? Maybe a trailer or social media. What's your take on it? Let's start with Kim.
Sure. For us, when we launched Zenkoi about 2 years ago, the topmost priority is for us to have some form of online communication creatively to show what Zenkoi is, because Zenkoi is quite a different game. It's in the free-to-play space. It's pretty experiential and it's hard to explain without showing it to somebody.
Well, Zen is in the name, right?
Yes. So it's really hard to show that. So our top priority was just simple things like just getting your URL right, and you get your name of your game right. This is pre-launch, and we created a website and we have a trailer and we have press kit. We did I do advise people to go to dopresskit.com. I think that's what we did. Just get a simple press kit up and going. And it has all the images, all trailers, and even logo for anybody who's interested to download our game and to talk about our game. So I think for us, that's the top priority.
Press kit. Yeah. I mean, sort of centralizing it before launch.
In one website. Yes.
All right. Thanks, Kim. What about you, Nick?
So for us, I think it's this is like not a specific like tool like PressKit or like Twitter or Facebook. What we do with our games is we try to create a reason for people to communicate about them outside of the marketing messages that we create. So a game like Screen Cheat, everyone talks about. The second we talked about the concept, which is it's a split screen shooter where everyone's invisible and you have to screen cheat, everyone instantly starts talking about their stories playing GoldenEye as a kid. With their friends, right? And with the American Dream, the game is taking the piss out of America and its gun culture, which, considering the game is a primarily North American focused market, it really rapidly evokes the right kind of communication with either the press or the consumers who play it. And as a result, we kind of don't need to do a lot of work to get the PR we want. Like, we go to a convention, I book my meetings, I bring the press through and I talk to them about the game, and I don't really have to do much because they kind of, I don't have to like tell them a full story. They just ask questions constantly about what we're doing with the game, or they're asking how we came up with the game, and why, a bunch of Australians think we're qualified to talk about American gun politics. So we're like, that's like our strategy, because we're small, we don't have a large marketing budget, and we think it's really important to save money and time, I guess, through simple communication and something that's very evocative.
So, if I can distill that down, are you referring to like the?
We make clickbait, yeah. We make clickbait.
Clickbait. Yeah. But I mean, in terms of like, is it possible to distill that into like that's a hook? That's a
yeah. Some people would describe it as a hook, I think. But hook sometimes is communicated as gameplay. But the thing about gameplay is, someone can have a fantastic gameplay hook, but it won't be distilled into a sentence or a video very well. Like, it might be something that's very hard to communicate. Right. So the essence is distilling what is unique about your game to something and then making it communicable. Some games that's GIFs, some games that's a pitch, some games that's a video.
Right, right. But
for us, we don't even make that content until we have that thing.
So start with the hook, basically. Yeah. Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. Monica, what about
So
what's worked for you guys?
We use a lot of different tools. So like Kim, we have a website, we have a press kit. For our website, we include all the information about the games.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but if I were to choose like one most
Just
crucial
one,
thing,
yes.
yeah, it's probably videos. So trailer is really important because it highlights all the important features of the game, since a lot of people don't really like to read. So in videos, you can see how the gameplay looks like, what are the, you can choose which features to highlight. And, for example, if your game is still being developed or not yet, released, you could actually tweak the trailer to make it look like how it would end up, when it's finally launched. Mm-hmm. And then at the same time, you have to, find places where you can promote that trailer. So you also have to use the other tools so that the trailer would be more visible to more people. And then we make sure that all of the links are in the video descriptions, like links to sign up for the mailing list, links to our press kit. So the trailer is like their entry point to all the different platforms that we're using.
It needs to be something that takes people, you bring people into and generate interest in this hub, this trailer that you've created, but you also need to redirect them to where they can buy the game and everything. Yeah. So it's important to, I guess for you, it's important to emphasize that the trailer is not just something pretty, but they need to have a call to action after that.
Yep. And like he said, it has to have a hook. So you have to show what is unique or interesting about your game.
Makes sense. All right. And for Tiff and Coffee?
For us, as a small team, we just try as many marketing tools as possible. We won't say that which one will be the most crucial one, but we just try everything. The social media, the trailer, and things like that. And one thing I want to agree with Kim is that, for the press kit, we do it as our first step, because while organizing the press kit, you got to kind of like figure out what is your game feature, and also kind of rephrase your game impression, and also think about what is the thing that you want to convey to the audience. So this is our first step. Once we got the whole picture, then we'll know what is our next step for the promotion.
So I think there's a common thread here between what everyone's saying is that you need to know what your hook is, what's the messaging you want to send to the player, what kind of emotional state you want them to have after they're exposed to your game, and then once you've brought them there, you can secure their interest, and that's where the rest of your stuff strikes. So, all right, so that's hopefully that's something you guys are already doing. If not, please do more of it. And so going more into, I want to talk a little bit more about trailers specifically. Trailers. There's a lot of people who make. We try our best to make trailers for our game, but we don't necessarily. While developers are necessarily the ones who understand the game best, would you rely on someone else outside of your company to make trailers for you? Or if you have done so, has that, sort of backfired? Anyone want to, Nick, you sound like you have some bad experiences.
No, we've had bad experiences. We've done both. And I think we've had mixed experiences.
Right.
So internally, we've both made really bad trailers, and we've made really good trailers.
Yeah.
The American Dreams release trailer or announcement trailer was made in 2 hours at the 2 days before PAX West, by Winston on his laptop in our Airbnb. And we keep forgetting that he's really good at making trailers and not using him. But then we, say for example, this Green Sheet, we would use our publisher to make our trailers. And they would do a really awful job, and then we'd complain about it and not just do it ourselves. So for outsourcing, I think that the trick is, because you can do it internally if you have the technique and the skill, but it is always useful to have an outside perspective to moderate it and edit it. But when you outsource it, you need to know what their skill set is. So the most success we've had is our second American Dream trailer we produced with a live action trailer with a comedy group out of Victoria, BC in Canada. And that was basically for us to we created a press beat out of nowhere, and we didn't have to do any work for it, basically. The game, it didn't show anything new about the game, because we have a narrative game, so we didn't want to show any new content. So we wanted to just basically create something for people to share that was related to the game, but not, it doesn't reveal anything and doesn't oversaturate you with it, because it's, how often do you see live action game trailers?
So we've really focused a lot on creating a mood for it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I saw that trailer, yeah.
Yeah, so that was really effective, but I would not use that for my release trailer because it tells you nothing. Yeah. It's just really funny. So yeah, when you outsource, you just need to like know exactly what you're getting. I think for our future trailers, we're going to test doing outsourced like gameplay trailers.
Right.
But again, like the research time is really long.
Gotcha.
We actually make our own trailers. Of course, we made trailers that are better performing than others. But what we also do is we give beta access to some of the streamers, and that's how they see they get to actually play the game and stream it on Twitch. And for us, it works kind of like a trailer because the streamer is able to explain it to his viewers in a way that other players would understand. So for us, it also functions as a promotional tool. So
that's fair.
The streamer is able to
having
promote.
said that, streamers kind of go into a different category because they have a captive. In that sense, they have a captive audience, or they are able to generate a new audience. We'll come back to streamers in a little bit. Anyone else want to add about trailers?
不好意思，我再用这样讲。那我们那时候 detention 在做的时候，大概有分那个3个阶段。那我们其实基本上不管是 teaser 还是 trailer 都是自己内部来处理的。对，那 teaser 的话大概就是30秒钟，让大家稍微感受一下那个气氛。那再来是在 demo 发的时候，我们有一个那个 gameplay 的这个 trailer， 让大家知道游戏怎么玩。那在最后在 launch 之前呢，有一个那个大概2分钟的这个 trailer。对，那就是在那个紧接着游戏发售前的2周去发布这个东西。对，那我们在这个 trailer 的处理上大概是这个样子。
Okay, so basically we have 3 kind of different trailers. One is like a teaser, and we also make a kind of like a gameplay video, and then the trailer. So the teaser is over these 3 videos we did by ourselves, and the teaser one is just like a 30-second of video trying to get the feel of it, let the audience know what our game is about. And then in the middle part we release a gameplay video so that the people know how it's going on and how to play it. And then before the launch, we release a trailer, a 2-minute trailer. So the trailer is kind of like before the launch, we kind of like remind our audience that we are going to launch our games, and also kind of like put some of our features inside. Yeah.
So you're folks saying that, I mean, this last trailer focuses more on features rather than mood, or did I?
So basically I think we have to start our games about like a psychology atmosphere game. So when we build this trailer, we also try to like kind of reveal a bit of our game, what this game is about, and also the message we want to convey to the audience about the freedom, things like that. Because before, in the early stage, we are trying to let the audience know that, okay, we are a horror game. But in the last phase, we are trying to let the audience know that this is not just a horror game. We also have story in it, and it's like narrative, and also like some kind of like a deep culture things back behind that. Also a bit of like history from our past that people don't usually talk about.
Right. Okay. So okay, I understand. It's more about you have multiple trailers that create an arc. You start with the high impact. This is a horror game. If you like horror, check this out. And when they dig deeper, you've got their attention with the launch trailer. You want to show the real meat, the emotional meat of the game. Okay, so I think that brings us to. I mean, it's evocative of the whole idea that you wanna send the right messaging to the player with if you want to do so most of all in a launch trailer, right? Yeah. Okay, so that's trailers. I mean, I just want to add one last word about outsourcing trailers. Just never, if you're going to work with people out, if you're going to work with an outsourced video house, never surrender creative control to them. I've personally we've paid money to make a live action trailer that where they said, you give us the gist of what you want to create, and our writers will come up with something. We're going to turn it into a perfume commercial or something. Don't do it. So my next topic is going to touch on something that I think a lot of devs question the utility of these people. Publishers, and I'm one myself, so I've heard, I've been challenged by many devs as to what value are you adding to making my game visible and getting it out there. I think each of us have our experiences with publishers. Kim, you would like to start?
Sure. Our first game, Aviator, was published on Congregate, and with 6 waves, and also with Big Fish. And each of them, I guess they offer different audience to us. For 6 waves, they basically, I think most of their role was about cross-promotion. So they do have a huge inventory of games, and they cross-promote us across the different inventory, different titles. So I guess when they took us on, took Aviator on, they knew that Aviator fit into their inventory of games that their group of audience will be interested in that kind of, and it did work and it did help. And it takes a small team of maybe 2 then take that weight off in terms of marketing it, because all we need is maybe supply some creative templates for them to put as ads on your cross promotion, and that really helps. I think that took us give us more time to focus on development.
Do you think you got what you bargained for?
I think so. I mean, at the time, I think I would say misers can't be choosers, because when you're not quite making it in terms of dollars, and for us, our team is very focused on product, and still is, and that's important to us to let them do the marketing part for the game.
Right.
I don't see a lot of marketing outside of their own inventory of games. That's the only complaint I have. We don't get any reports back about where they have marketed us or anything like that. So compare that to now we are self-publishers. We self-publish Zenkoi. We know where we put our ads, how they're performing, how they're doing in different spaces like Facebook or on Google as well. So that's a huge difference for us being self-publishers. You have more control. But looking back, 3 or 4 years before, when we didn't have that capacity, I think a publisher is okay. I mean, so long as you strike a good, decent deal with them, and they're decent people.
Decent people. The definition of decent people is...
Make sure you talk to them face to face.
Your mileage may vary.
Yes, talk to them face to face. For Congregate was interesting because, and Congregate, we met the people that were publishing us, and they're really nice. And we found that Congregate was a completely different audience. They're a lot more full-on gamers. And the good thing that came from that was we get a lot of very honest reviews about the game, and that allow us to fix a lot of things in the game,
sure.
and that really helped make the game better, a lot better.
Gotcha.
And for Big Fish, again, it's a different set of audience. It's completely different from Congregate. So I think the benefit for going with different publishers is that you should understand what the audience that they are specializing in, because for each channel, I mean, I see them almost as channel where you distribute your game to. If you will have to tailor creatives for ads to be cross-promoted, I would say, tailor your marketing creatives according to those audience in mind. So, for example, if it's a more hardcore game audience, make your graphic a little bit different from if it was a different genre, like a different group of audience, like if they're female.
Right. I wanted to turn it over to Monica, because since you brought up Big Fish, that still on the topic of publishers, but as publishers, they have their own growth trajectories. Some most of us, a lot of us here have been. Even being in the mobile industry for maybe, say you've had visibility here for 5 years, you've seen publishers come up, grow, and go high, go low, and some die. I think Big Fish has had quite an adventure with you.
Yeah. So Boomsam is most known for its hidden object game. So we worked with them with Big Fish. And the good thing about working with Big Fish, because they already have a market or an audience for hidden object games, and they know since they already have huge portfolio of hidden object games, they know what best practices are, what features you would like to include in a new hidden object game.
But more from a marketing perspective, I guess.
From a marketing perspective, usually just submit a specific list of marketing assets which they use to create their trailers, to reskin their website.
So it's quite kind of almost like not say cookie cutter, but there's a systemized process for them to handle it.
Yeah, this is a systemized process, and then they have this. They have a new game every day. So when your game releases, you're like the highlighted game of the day, and on the next day it's going to be a different game.
Okay, so so Kim and Monica's experiences are more on the I guess the mobile and casual games publishers. Nick, you've worked with publishers more on the premium side. We want to talk about your experience there.
I can only primarily speak to the publishing side from PC and console because obviously we did a mobile game a while ago, but it was all tiny. So you're going to hate me for saying this, but I think most publishers on the PC and mobiles, or the PC and console side, are crap. I've worked with some. I've spoken to a lot of people about working with others. I've had a lot of meetings for my new game. I'm not going to name specific names because when I say crap, I mean like most of them actually are very bad at marketing. A lot of the games that you see succeed in the PC or mobile or PC or console space that have a publisher were already great games that honestly didn't need that publisher. Maybe they needed a little bit of the money or they needed the development support. In our case, the most benefit we ever got from our publisher really was we were a student team who just finished uni and we were then moving into our first game. So having a publisher behind us basically just gave us like a big old man threat telling us like, you need to ship this game on these times. And, you know, as a new team, that was really valuable.
In some sense, they were really more like your producers rather than...
Yeah, I think they really were. Like they were pushing us away from doing events, which ended up getting us to console. So like there was some really strange things happening. And now when I was researching the American Dream, we just couldn't find a publisher that fit. And especially since we're moving into VR, publishers don't really have a foot in that space. Or most of them have done one thing and now are afraid of doing VR because fundamentally it's a pretty small market right now.
Still very early and
very
risky.
Small.
Yeah.
So on the PC side, it's you mentioned that like a lot of games, a lot of mobile publishers, it's really about a right fit. So
they have a very fixed audience.
Yeah,
and that's
I think on PC and console, that's actually even it's worse, but potentially to the detriment of your game. So you could get your game published by a certain publisher, but your game becomes their game. Like the brand value that your studio has gets completely absorbed. I really like Devolver Digital. They're great people. Their games they pick really solid titles, but so this time again, no one knows any of the developers outside of the Hotline Miami guys. No one knows who those people are because Devolver Digital are so good at marketing themselves and their brand that they kind of take away from the fact that they have developers below them.
Yeah, it's something that running a publisher myself, it's a very real challenge. How far can we go in pushing the brand of the developer versus making sure that people understand that as a publisher, I also function as a curator, and there's an umbrella of experiences that we want people to identify with and recognize as a sort of a seal of quality. Like back in the day, you had
so that's
Nintendo
exactly
seal
what I was
of
going to
quality.
say.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of publishers, you sign with them because they act as a seal of quality, and then after that, press will take you seriously, and streamers and YouTubers will take you seriously, and you'll get the coverage you need, not because they're great at marketing. They just have a solid brand that is respected for its value. They're basically curating quality titles at that point. And really, you need to pick what's best for your game. If I was going to say this back when it came to trailers, some games can't have good trailers. It's actually impossible. Like Screen Sheet had some of the worst trailers you'll ever see, but it had a really great traction with YouTubers and streamers because they were able to pick up the game and like just enjoy it and project their personalities into the game. So like if you talk to a publisher, they're going to start like talking very traditional ways of marketing the game, and then nothing will actually happen because it's not that they're great at marketing, they just have something there.
Maybe it would just help if they admit it. Like, actually, we don't have any good ideas about how to market your game. But
so that's the refreshing thing I found.
Yeah.
Is the ones that have stuck around for a long time are very honest.
Mm-hmm.
They'll just be like, look, we can't work with you because we have no possible benefit you can add or we can add to you.
Right. Yeah. It's something I think, honestly, at the end of the day, a publisher is your partner. They're not they shouldn't treat you like an overlord in that sense. I think the casual space devs may feel a bit differently about how some of them behave, but I mean, at least in the premium space, they are here to help amplify you. If they treat you without that sort of honesty and respect, I think that's a relationship you should be very careful of.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll add is just that I was primarily talking about global publishers. So we've worked with some regional publishers as well, and those relationships are generally very beneficial because their job is very straightforward. They say, like, when I'm an English speaker and my standard publisher is an English-speaking team, and we have experience marketing to Western Europe and North America, we don't really know what we're doing with other regions. It's just like, it's like we can put the game on Steam and then maybe someone will buy it. But what the regional publishers tend to do, at least on the PC and console space, is they'll cover your localization costs, they'll cover your marketing costs in that region, and they take cut in that region. And say if you've shipped a console game, Sony Japan shipments, like shipping in Sony Japan is like shipping a whole nother console. So you have to go through a regional certification. You have to go through the certification again, and you have to be able to read the documentation, which is all in Japanese. So having a regional publisher can be really valuable there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Talking about regional publishers, Tiff and Coffee, your game Detention was published in China specifically by Coconut Island. Is there any, based on the experience, is there anything you want to share about your experience with them?
基本上我们跟那个 Coconut 的合作并不是一开始就有的。那他们其实是我们在demo 放出来之后，然后我们在那时候在过 green light，那因为我们其实一开始是打算 self publish，因为我觉得说我们没有太多资源去接触这一些东西，那所以才说我们走 Steam， 然后自己去发行。那时候因为接触到 Coconuts， 然后他们才来跟我们接洽。那我们其实也是先走这个，先看他们先互相确认能不能信任。对，那对，大概是。
So at first, we actually didn't plan to find a publisher to help doing with our game. We want to do it like a self-publishing on Steam. But once we release a demo out there, and then we are approached by Coconut Island, and then we got to know Coconut Island and talk a bit more and see if we are on the same page. Then if we can trust them. Then we decided to have him release our China region.
对，那所以我那时候在合作的时候，就是有提到，因为我基本上 detention 这个内容有一些这种比较sensitive 的问题，那我们就是有在互相沟通。那如果说我们那时候的态度就是说，如果我们有去要改动到我们 game core 的部分的话，那我们就宁可还是维持自己发行的状态。对，当然我们后来合作起来其实还好，我们都是在我们能互相接受的范围里面去改動這樣子。
So when we spoke to Coconut Island, because our game is a bit like political sensitive in terms of China, so we say that like if we need to kind of like revise the game content just to release in China, then probably we'll just like do the self-publishing by ourselves. But after we talked to Coconut Island, we know that like we don't need to change a lot of our gameplay, our content. So everything is like more acceptable by both of the parties. So then we decide to have him release our game.
那这个很大一部分是就立基在那个互相信任的基础之上，因为我其实觉得我们并没有说特别去，因为尤其是台湾跟中国大陆的关系比较复杂，所以我觉得法律面之类的约束那个对我们来讲反而其次，我们必须要先确认互相是信任。那 Kona 他们自己就是 developer， 对，所以我们那时候去跟他们交流之后的 了解一下状况，所以我们后续的发行才比较放心的交给他们。那他们主要就是在中国大陆帮我们做这个推广跟行销。对。
For working with the Coconut Island, we actually don't really like care about the regulation side, but what we care is the trust. If we have the trust foundation, and then we talk with them, and then so it's because Coconut Island is also developer themselves. So then it will be easier to talk with them because we are all developers. It will be easier to speak with the same page, and then also we trust each other. I think the most important thing is about the trust. You have to have the foundation of the trust.
I think you bring up a really good point about if the publishers come from a developer background. I mean, I myself, I've been a developer on multiple titles, and even developers like Devolver Digital, they've been in the industry. Devolver is one of the biggest indie publishers in the PC and console space, and even mobile as well. And they've had a very long history, starting from Nick, do you remember what it was, like GOD, Gathering of Developers, or even before that?
I don't know. They used to be in film.
Right. Yeah. So I think talking about trust, and if you're as a developer, if the potential publishing partner is able to relate to your game, or you can relate to them and their story as well, then I think that's they'll be able to promote your game more effectively, more aggressively, and also how they relate as people, as publishers, to their audience is something that you want to pay attention to as well. But still talking about not specifically Coconut Island, but publishers in China. Do you find? I know, Tiff, you mentioned that it's not really about maybe their reputation and such, but for the rest of you, have you had any experiences trying to recruit? Like, I mean, if you localize your game, have you been approached by Chinese publishers and had a lot of difficulty in ascertaining are they the right people to work with?
I can only speak briefly to this because we have localized in Chinese. We're in simplified, and we don't actually have not explicitly launched Screen Cheat in China, but it sells in China on Steam. So technically, that's illegal. I think the users that are buying it in China, I believe, are accessing it illegally. And we've had a lot of Chinese publishers come up and talk to us and be like, "Oh, you want to ship this game in China?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's about a 6 month to a 1 year turnaround to get this launched on console and on PC." And like, I don't think that's worth it because by then we'll have launched another game. I believe they're improving the systems, but to legally get your game published in China, there's a lot more work involved as compared to a normal regional publishing situation. So that's why we've basically been avoiding it. But despite that, like, the region is growing and very important, especially in mobile. But in PC, it's actually growing as well. And so it's the same with console, slowly. So we are looking more and more at it, especially if America breaks its bones over Trump. We need to find new avenues of revenue because North America currently is about 75% of our revenue. But if that country continues to devolve, we need to look elsewhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I guess, we've seen a lot of changes to the way that games promote themselves over the last years. Twitter, YouTube influencers, Twitch. What's next? What's the next big thing? What's the next big format? What's the next big tool? Do you have any? Is there something on the wish list or something you're hearing about now that is going to be the big new thing a year or 2 years from now?
Are you referring to? Are you talking about platforms or tools?
Tools for promotion, or forums for promotion.
I'll jump in with just my quick take on that. I think I'm hearing a lot of buzz about Facebook instant games or just instant messenger game platforms in general, and tied to that, chatbots. But how our devs are going to get on those platforms and make games that fit the game experiences that fit in the restrictions of those platforms is there's still a lot of challenges there to be addressed. What about the rest of you guys? Starting from Kim.
For us in the free-to-play arena, We generally don't chase trends. Facebook, we work closely with Facebook, and it has worked for our titles. Zenkoi is a very tranquil game. So marketing Zenkoi has been a challenge, but it has built in viral features, social media. Our players tweet and post pictures of dragons Zenkoi on Twitter and Facebook and everywhere else. So that really has helped us a lot. I think you should design your social and variety within your title. So you really need to look at your title and see what kind of voice you want to project.
The personalization.
Yeah, Tools are always out there and they're always changing. Right. But I think it's important that you channel, the voice of your game out as opposed to looking at what the tools are out there. Tools are always,
I think it's also useful for dev to assess whether that voice you're projecting out there is a unique voice, or is it something that like millions of gamers have heard before. Because that's you want to stand out.
Established platforms like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, they're always there and they have a huge audience. So chasing, Discord or any new tools like that, or it's a very specialized, a very niche audience still. So for us, for free to play, especially for casual, it's good to just go for the mass audience where the channels have.
Gotcha. Yeah. Nick or anyone else want to add something?
I think most of our players, since we're recently branching out to strategy games, most of them are not on Facebook, but one of the platforms we're looking at right now is Twitch and Discord. So we've been doing a lot of live streaming and interacting with different streamers, collaborating with them and interacting with them directly. We're actually doing developer streams, so we're showing a very early version of our game, and they are able to send us feedback very early on, and they have very detailed suggestions for features. So it's something that it helps us in the development process. Like we can look at we can easily try out ideas, and if it's something that the players do not want, we can scrap it out early on in the process. Or if they have suggestions, it would be better for us to know them early instead of later on when the whole foundation of the game is set. And for example, in the case of Legends of Galatia, we had maps that were hand-drawn, digitally painted. It's a very long process to create a map. But then a lot of the streamers or players wanted a map editor. It was something that we can't do at that stage of the game. So it's feedback that would have been great to know at the start of the process. So right now we're making a new strategy game. So it's one of the major features that we're building right now to make sure that
so
it's something that
early community engagement is sort of this your secret weapon in this
and then
case.
In the case of streaming, it's you they see on the screen, so it's a very personal relationship.
It's the relationship with Chris we're talking about.
Yeah, like all of our viewers know even the personal things about Chris, like he sees his family, where he lives, what he eats. And in my case, I've also done my share of streaming. So they really, they want to know you more on a personal level. And it makes them really proud to tell their other viewers or other streamer friends that, hey, I know a game developer. And when the game is released, hey, I helped make this game. So
makes sense.
My question is about controversy. So, I mean, some people say there's no such thing as bad press, right? So, in your experience, if you look at two of the companies or folks up there, like Nicholas and the Red Candle folks, your games are a little bit more political in nature. How has that helped and hindered? And for that to understand, we're more F2P casual. Do you guys avoid that altogether?
Sorry, just to restate the question for everyone's benefit. Basically, Sean is asking, how has the political sort of controversy, the people arguing on Steam, or because it's like in the case of Detention, it's a very nationalist sort of argument between China, Taiwan that's stirred up by the contents of the game. And in Nicholas's case, the American Dream is a very big satire on gun culture in America. So how has that benefited or hurt your marketing position?
Yeah, so I think it's made one thing a lot easier, which is the press will continue to write about our game regardless if we're showing anything new. We've shown the game now at 3 events and had multiple coverage from the same website, which we never used to get on previous games, yet showing no new content, talking the exact same messaging, because it's something for them to write about. Like they can start off with just a preview, then they can do like a think piece, and then they can do like a gameplay preview. But I think because they know it's going to get engagement on their site, they're able to abuse it.
It's just political, so it's clicks. Yeah. Instant clicks, right?
So, I mean, that's the cynical opinion. It is advantageous, but that's not why we made the game, obviously. The disadvantages is that we have obviously received we get a lot of negative criticism. We've been called SJWs, left-wing, like Nazis. We've been called, those are the phrase they use, like nanny state.
Nanny state?
Yeah, how they describe Americans that describe other countries, that aren't America, that have like tight laws.
Wow. So Americans calling Australia a nanny state. This is a new one.
So, yeah, we get that kind of thing. But this is, when it comes down to it, like, I met those kinds of people in person. So when we did PAX East, we actually managed to see some of these kinds of, like, attitudes in person, and there are much more, like, thought out arguments and conversations we have with them. And at least we get to have, like, a long dialogue with one of our, like, players. And we're yet to see the negatives because, honestly, we haven't launched yet. So when we launch, I think I'll have a better answer towards what the negatives are. It might be that we get review bombed. A lot of people know about that process. Steam is doing some stuff to stop it happening.
Right. We'll have to do this panel next year and see what happens to
Yeah,
you.
right. But
I want to turn it over to Coffee and Tiff.
OK， 那基本上就结论来说，我们确实是有因为这样子的因素，让我们的这个销售量有比较大的这个影响哦，尤其是在台湾跟中国这个部分。然后但是这个并不是我们原本想要做的部分。那其实是说我们原本detention 它想要做的就是一种 Taiwan's flavor， 然后当然就里面就 include 它的这个 history 的部分。对，那所以我们因为知道它是 sensitive 的东西，所以我处理起来是蛮小心的在做这一块哦。但是当我们游戏 release 出来的时候，的确在媒体或者是一些部分会被放大到哦，但是放大的程度其实这个不是我们原先去预期到的。
So basically, our game is a political sensitive game. So because of this, it kind of raises sales in terms of Taiwan and also China. But actually, political sensitive issue is not our intention. Our intention is we just want to make a Taiwanese game with a culture background in it. But because we use a Taiwanese game and culture thing, so we had to go back to our history and then somehow touched one of the sensitive issue around this region. So when we were making the game, we were trying to do it with discrete mindset, trying to not touch the issue that much. But still, when the game released, somehow the media also like covering our game and then talking about political sensitive issue, and then that actually helped us to raise the sales for sure.
So did it hurt? I mean, do you feel like it hurt you in any significant way in terms of like Steam reaction?
没有，其实没有，因为其实在台湾现在的环境底下，算是一般普遍认知是我们是比较民主跟言论自由的地方，对，所以其实基本上是有被提出来讨论，但是并没有说遭受到一些什么问题。而且我们的因为我们的故事核心讲的是一个比较就是说 freedom 这样子的东西，所以我想它是一个比较大家都能够认同的价值。
So actually it doesn't affect us that much because in Taiwan we are a democratic country, and then so we have like freedom of right to speak. And so yeah, for sure it raises also like discussion, people are talking about it. Yeah, but we don't have any like a threat or blackmailing us.
No bomb sent to your office.
No.
Fantastic. Okay.
Before we say goodbye to our panelists and moderator, I do want a round of applause for the support team that made my track today be so easy. Everything was smooth. So thank you everyone for your help today.